The publisher of Tribune de l'Est cheats death as he escaped an assassination attempt on his life in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Plus, members of the traditional rulers of the Sawa community in Douala have taken sides with the duo for Douala One, congratulating him for banning the planned march by the Social Democratic Front Party, telling the SDF militants not to extend the Anglophone crisis to the Littoral region. We tell you how a locally made bomb exploded in Bamenda, precisely at Aziri New Church, the Presbyterian Comprehensive Secondary School. Locals are still wondering how a town which is heavily militarized, men are still able to plant bombs at strategic areas. I will be right back. Good evening. Welcome to join me. I am Fohan Sin Chanji. Thanks for joining me in this 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. We are broadcasting live from Douala, Cameroon, Equinox Central News Desk. We take you to the nation's capital, Yaoundé, where the publisher of Tribune de l'Est, Tuele, has cheated death after an assassination attempt on his life at the Biamasi neighborhood in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Our reporter visited the residence of the publisher, who told them that the men came to take away his life but did not succeed. His car was set ablaze. Roland Akon.
The vehicle of Chantal Roger Tuele, set ablaze by the intruders, is the most visible criminal damage to property we witnessed Friday following the burglary at his Biamasi apartment 2 a.m. Thursday, breaking Friday.
Ça se passait exactement à 2h30 dans la nuit. Quand j'entends dehors, poum, 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 des gens qui sautent, vous voyez le mur, ils sautent de là. Je viens et les chiens aboient.
The fuel container the intruders used to commit their criminal act is still on the scene of the crime, as well as the ladder they used to jump into Tuele's compound.
Quand ils fuyaient, ils ont abandonné l'autre bouteille d'essence que vous voyez, parce que je crois qu'ils voulaient mettre feu dans toute la concession.
Tuele paid attention to the voices and appearance of the burglars.
Les bottes des hommes en tenue, et ils avaient des sortes d'habits de mécaniciens.
That they were dressed like mechanics with military boots, and that one of them even had a rifle but did not use it.
C'était un pistolet prolongé de quelque chose.
The intruders did not succeed to force open the doors into Tuele's compound, so there was no physical confrontation, no physical harm, but his family is visibly traumatized by the violent felony. Chantal Roger Tuele, who have recently published in his newspaper Tribune de l'Est the salaries of some GMs of state corporations in the country, believes that the burglary at his home could be as a result of the publication. He says the documents are not found in his Biamasi residence, but with his lawyers and some senior officials in the country, including the head of state.
Il faut que ces gens sachent qu'on ne peut pas garder les documents dans un domicile, que les documents se trouvent chez mes avocats.
The unidentified intruders on leaving warned Tuele that the residential burglary is the last warning they were giving him.
Le dernier à sauter a dit dernier avertissement. Dernier avertissement.
Tuele is now demanding security cover from the government, emphasizing that his life is in danger.
J'ai pris sur moi de dénoncer des vols à ciel ouvert. Je ne sais pas pourquoi les autorités du Cameroun peuvent me laisser sans protection.
Security forces visited the scene of the crime and have opened investigations on the matter.
C'est-à-dire que ces 5 personnes ont effectivement reçu de l'argent.
Members of the General Assembly of the Sawa people, I told you in the top stories, they have just said congratulations, Mr. Divisional Officer, for banning the SDF plant rally for tomorrow, October 21. They called on opposition parties not to extend the Anglophone crisis to the littoral region and respect administrative orders. Mimi Mefo. The people around Aziri New Church in Bamenda were panic-stricken Friday morning after the discovery of a locally made bomb just beside the gate into the Presbyterian Comprehensive Secondary School and Aziri New Church, a spot where security forces usually take their rest. Parents stormed the school to take their children home. The guard on duty is said to have discovered the bomb, then alerted the school's principal.
And he questioned himself that somebody has forgotten a phone in a bag. And when he went there, he saw a phone blinking and then a radio and a gas cylinder. So he immediately informed the uniformed officers who are passing the night on campus. So when they came, they discovered that it's an explosive, and they immediately informed the hierarchy, and the hierarchy came on the spot with patrol.
As tension and panic increased, parents pressed to take their children home. The primary section was almost empty as each parent took his child home, including the representative of the Presbyterian Education Authority in the Northwest region.
The truth is that it has created fear in the minds of parents, and we have been doing everything to convince them to know that it was just one other explosion like that.
The locally made bomb, whose origin is still unknown, was detonated after security forces used fuel to lit up fire. The loud noise further sent residents indoors. This is the fourth locally made bomb discovered in Bamenda in less than 2 months, but security forces have been unable to trap down perpetrators. Locals have been wondering how bombs are placed in strategic areas when the town is heavily militarized. That was a report from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda, talking about the discovery of a locally made bomb, according to security forces, which was detonated in a local way, and many parents, like you saw in that report, came and took their children back home. Now, this report by Mimimefo on the Sawa people, the General Assembly group under the Ngondo, who have congratulated the divisional officer for Douala 1 for taking a stand, a firm one, against the rally tomorrow by banning the SDF rally. They have warned opposition political party leaders not to extend the Anglophone crisis to the littoral region. We have this report signed by Mimi Mefo.
Ngondo stands with the administration and rejects plans by the Social Democratic Front and other opposition parties to organize a rally on October 21st in solidarity with the Anglophone population in Cameroon. Meeting in Douala Friday, the members of the General Assembly of the Sawa people said that the rally is aimed at worsening an already complicated and unstable social climate in the country.
Reject with the last energy all attempts by some political parties aiming to exacerbate the situation, which is already painful, affecting our compatriots of Northwest and Southwest regions, in order to extend the bad social climate in our peaceful and highly delicate economic metropole.
To the traditional rulers of all the chiefdoms of Sawa, peace must be given a chance.
We need peace. Peace and more peace, so that Douala can continue. Douala needs and need again so highly peace, order and cohesion, and so forth will not in any cost be left an uncontrollable situation.
The socio-economic stakes of the planned gathering of the city of Douala is what Ngondo worries about, and they have vowed to ensure that Douala and the littoral region in general continues to enjoy peace and stability.
Ngondo invites the population of this city, where beats the heart of our country and of all origins, to prioritize without relating peace.
The chiefs, however, noted that they are not indifferent about the plight of the English-speaking population, but maintained that the current crisis must be resolved through a constructive dialogue.
We are all concerned by the revendications of our citizens of Anglophone regions and demand our attention at any time from all frenetic agitation, manipulation, recuperation, but in a constructive and republican dialogue with the government stand for.
Critics have said that the stance of Ngondo is not a surprise.
The strict respect and implementation of the 1996 Constitution, including the decentralization process as well as the amelioration of social amenities, these are issues which have been tabled before Senator Andrew Ote Mofa. As far as the Meme division is concerned, the people of Mbonge told him that if these things are put in place, their lives will never be the same again. They were speaking on the sidelines of a meeting undertaken by elite to dialogue for peace in the two English-speaking regions of the country. Smart Njikan Gabriel.
The Mbonge Council Hall was the venue where Senator Mofa Andrew Ote led commission dialogues with the population of the subdivision. In the course of the meeting, the population present called for the respect of the 1996 Constitution and the effectiveness of decentralization.
Let us tell the head of government that they should go back to our 1996 Constitution. The provision that had to do with the 10 autonomous regions should be implemented in totality.
1996, there was decentralization. Mbonge would have been doing their own, getting their revenue and building themselves. Nothing is happening. When we enter into the marriage, it was equal rights, equal opportunities. The Anglophones should lead this country as a head of state. When the Francophone leads, Anglophones, when they attend camps, they should take the lead.
Mbonge, being one of the largest subdivision in the southwest region, with about 80 villages, is plagued particularly at the level of its accessibility. The head of the dialogue delegation to Mbonge had the following appraisal to make at the end of the meeting.
They are for a more decentralized system of government where the local population can take hold of its own affairs. The parents should encourage their children to go back to school, and the civil strife should stop. So we are thinking that there is the violence that perpetrated should stop. The people should be peaceful, people should be law-abiding, people should be respectful, and the people should continue having faith in those who are representing them and in those who are governing them.
Mbonge subdivision, should be recalled, is one of the highest cocoa producing areas in the southwest region.
Now, 1 year after the Ezeka train derailment, memories of shocking incidents remains fresh in the minds of many. Several persons who were on board the train are still unaccounted for. Our reporter Catherine Kone spoke to a man whose brother is still, the whereabouts of his brother is still unknown. Catherine?
Qu'une disparition d'un être cher, c'est très difficile.
Ruben Michel expresses anguish over the death of their brother during the Ezeka train accident last year. The family has not succeeded till date to find the mortal remains of their brother, who they claim was involved in the train crash that claimed lives of hundreds of persons.
Je précise que nous n'avons pas été indemnisés à ce jour.
The family is saddened that they were sidelined in the payment of indemnities of families who lost loved ones during the crash.
Au début, les enfants ont demandé des nouvelles de leur père.
Joseph Ntonga, as he was called, left behind two kids who are still asking of his whereabouts. His absence is a shock to his two kids, and raising them, according to Ruben Michel, is another burden for the family to bear. He added that several letters have been written to Camrai for investigation to be opened on his brother, but hasn't received any reply from them. However, we did not succeed in our attempts to know more about the 1 billion francs CFA President Paul Biya promised to victims of the Ezeka train accident. Though a year now, memories of the Ezeka train accident are still fresh in minds as if it happened yesterday.
In news out of Cameroon, Togolese officials have denied allegations 4 persons were killed in recent protests as the Togolese are demanding the departure of their president, Fonya Singbe. Meantime, security forces confirm on state media 5 persons were killed. Innocent Aze has more.
Togolese government remains adamant that security forces did not kill 5 opposition supporters, leaving dozens more injured in recent anti-government protests. Togo's opposition said Thursday that is. Meantime, Togo's security minister admits at least 5 lives have perished in clashes between security forces and opposition supporters demonstrating for presidential term limits. Dameham Yak, the country's security minister, further added on state television that about 60 protesters were arrested throughout Togo. Wednesday was the first of 2 days protest by the opposition demanding the reinstatement of Togo's original constitution, which they say will bar President Faure Gnassingbé from a fourth term in 2020. Police reportedly shot tear gas to disperse protesters in several neighborhoods in the capital Lomé, where demonstrators erected roadblocks and set tires on fire. It is over 2 months since protests began in Togo over the president's tenure. President Gnassingbé, whose resignation is strongly demanded by opposition supporters, has been in power since 2005, succeeding his father, Gnassingbé Eyadema.
We've come to the end of the first segment of this news. In the second part, my guest and I will be talking about the Ban SDF rally that was programmed for tomorrow. I will be right back. My guest tonight is Ndemancho Michael. He is a senior researcher as well as a lecturer. Good evening.
Good evening, for Hansen.
A pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure, it's mine. Thank
now, we just react immediately after the traditional authorities of the Sawa people, after the meeting there, group under the Ngondo, have congratulated the divisional officer for Douala 1 for banning the SDF rally, and they have called on political opposition party leaders not to extend the Anglophone crisis to the littoral region. What is your take on that?
I think as a near expert in African civilization, the traditional rulers are just doing their job. You know, our fondoms and our chiefdoms are like our local traditional embassies. And when you are being chased by someone, and you enter a fondom or a palace, you know that you are saved. And therefore, the chiefs and the fonds are supposed to be peace crusaders. I perfectly understand them. So, it has even extended in the grand sphere whereby you realize that a fond is not supposed to see a corpse. That is understandable, that fonds and chiefs are people who bring peace. They are not people who bring about disorder. So I understand their outing, and that is understood very well in African traditional religion and practice.
Okay,
yes.
Now about the decision itself by the DIO banning the SDF rally tomorrow.
The decision by the DIO is a very, very controversial one for Hassan, and we have been talking about it since 2 days. And we are asking ourselves why the DIO has to come back to the decision authorizing the SDF to march. I understand that he has advanced a series of reasons, being one of them being security. Of course, that is understood. That even according to the law, if the DIO grants a march demonstration, and he realizes that that is going to bring about insecurity, he has a right to ban. But it has become too recurrent that you realize that a particular party will ask for a manifestation, which of course is supposed to be peaceful, and then the government or the administrations are looking at it and suspiciously. So I am asking myself, who is afraid of who? Because according to me, this march is supposed to be granted and then be guided by, they are supposed to send security agents to guide this march so that it shouldn't take a different turn and be disorderly. I think that this is how it is done in a modern democracy. If we have accepted that we have freedom of speech, there is freedom of speech in Cameroon, there is freedom of manifestation according to the 1990 law, I think that we are not supposed to be afraid of the unknown. So according to me, the way the administrator, the DIO for Douala 1, the way he has acted, actually tarnishes the image of Cameroon as a democratic country. Rather, he was supposed to send out and ask for reinforcement, to send the military to guide these people who are marching. What else are they doing? They are just going to shoot their little placard and say, this is what we are asking for from the government. And I think that, of course, this is the kind of a language that our government in Africa in general is understanding. That you cannot sit in your house and strike. You can only protest out of your house. You cannot protest in your house. And therefore, if it is a language that they understand best, I think that it was only normal that the DIO should allow the SDF to march.
The DIO has been talking about infiltration by other groups into the protest. When you look at reactions from social media, you will see that those who are fighting for the restoration of the state of Southern Cameroon equally said they were going to be part of this march past. Can this not be an example of the reason why the DIO had to do this?
Well, I think that it is true, but I'm afraid that the Joe is basing his reasons on the social media, which is not very, very professional. Well, he's doing a preventive measure. But I'm asking myself, who are these secessionists who have suddenly come and they want to secede from where? In Douala? That is what I'm asking myself. What are they going to do in Douala? Are they going to cut Douala out of the rest of Cameroon? These secessionists are coming to Douala to do what? I mean, to me, they were going to be very, very insignificant. Except...
Is the government not afraid of another Togo? We just saw Togo there.
Well, if the government is afraid of another Togo, why are Togolese on the street? And then I think that it will be high time now if the government is afraid, because when we are comparing with Togo, we see that Togo has a genuine kind of reason why they are in the street, because they are protesting against a dynasty that has been for years, since 50 years. You find a father far has been handed down to the same family. So if the government is afraid of that, then there is something wrong, because they have a reason. So what is the government doing in order to preempt this kind of a situation? It means that what the opposition is asking for is the government having the willingness. Today we are talking about the issue of dialogue, but we have not seen so much of that being into play. But what is the government doing in terms of that in order to organize a dialogue with the opposition? I think that the opposition is having something to say, and they are asking themselves which is the arena that they can use to be able to say what they want to say. And it appears as if they are being pushed into the wall. And let me remind you, you realize that the best thing is to solve an issue than to have a child having a suppressed emotion. Because when you have a suppressed emotion, at the moment whereby you want to burst out, it is usually very difficult to handle. So I think that the best thing for the government is to get down with these opposition leaders and be able to... Opposition is an important eye opener in the country, whereby they point out the mistakes of the government, and therefore the government is supposed to even hold them in high esteem. So I think the government should, be able to listen to them and actually see what they are asking for during the authorization. The application for authorization. The SDF asked, and those things were marked. I think we want to actually march in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the Northwest region. And I think that the Joe saw that as something tangible, because in the same thing, the CBDN did the same thing. Now, another thing is that other parties are joining the SDF to march. I think that when the CBDN march on the 1st of October, other parties will join in solidarity. I think that is just solidarity, and I don't think that they are going to...
So you think it should be 50-50 between the ruling party and opposition party?
Of course, we are in a democratic country, and that is supposed to be allowed. As much as no disorder is going to be orchestrated. I remember after the elections in Ghana, in Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta told the protesters, he told them, it is your right to protest, but be under the law. And I think that this is what the government of Comoros is supposed to tell the opposition party. Yes, it is your right to protest, it is your right to march, but let that be done under the law. Insecurity should be ensured. Destruction should not be part of their demonstration.
So you think there is still time for the Dio to come back and say, Ninche and Co., you can march tomorrow?
It is late. It is late, because I realize that the intention is not the intention of actually withdrawing the authorization is not a it's a premeditated intention. That's what I'm saying. Meaning that it is very difficult for the Dio within 12 hours to come back to that decision. And you realize the way the government works. It is not just the Dio who is asked. He is in consultation with his own boss. So you find that the government machinery, that is the way it works, and I think that Joe is not going to come back to that, and we are afraid that since that match is not going to take place tomorrow, the SDF already said they have used a lot of money, they have done this and done that. But what we ask for is peace, and I think we are condemning the fact that people are not allowed to express themselves.
But now that Ninche and others, we have seen Pius, CPP, the SDF, they've said they don't recognize this communique banning the march tomorrow. Now, how do you view tomorrow, Saturday, in Douala?
I don't think the SDF doesn't have an army. And what you are going to see tomorrow, even at midnight already, you find army flooded all over. The government is going to send people to guard all over. The SDF doesn't have an army. So I think that all they are doing is rhetorics. Is propaganda. There is no way in which they are going to pass to march, because you remember the last march some few months ago when they insisted,
in the month of March,
when they said they were going to march, and they insisted they were going to march. We were waiting to see how that was going to happen, because you cannot be armless and then you want to go and fight with the soldiers who are armed. So I don't think, Kanwala and the CPP, they have done some few, acted well in Yaoundé and some other, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think once the government said, this is it, well, respect is one of the things, except those who feel that they have actually borne so much for so long a time. And if we are talking about that, and we are looking at figures like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and others, I think they didn't take arms. One of the things that they did was they insisted on their point of view, and which, of course, at the long run, it was respected. And I want to quote also an example of Liberia. You know, after Samuel Doe came Charles Taylor, and then the upsurge of a person like Ellen Johnson was because the women went to prayers. And let me tell you, the Christian and the Muslim, they came together, and they even started praying in the fish market, and that is how they thought that the woman could come as a president. I mean, it was not violent. That's what I think.
Thank you very much, Dimancho Michael. You are a researcher in African civilization and a lecturer. It was a pleasure being with you in this weekend edition of the news.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was equally a pleasure being with you. Thanks for watching. The team joins me to say good night and have a nice weekend in the company of our programs. On Sunday at 6:30 p.m., the Inside will be coming up with the main guest on the program, Barrister Congo Felix Agbo, alias Agbo Bala. He will be the guest. Cedric Nufelo will be at 8 p.m. local time with the French version of the news. Good night.